In this example, we have a worksheet with some specific range type of formulas and the such. The thing that we want to do, though, is that we want to graphically show what the formulas are, let's say, in this case, calculating, what ranges of numbers are they calculating. I also want to be able to maybe see what, if I were to change a particular number that a formula is dependent upon, how, I like to see a graphic of that to be able to, give some ideas of what I'm really calculating. And maybe I might find from this, in some cases, that maybe I'm referencing the wrong information in my calculation. All right, so this is just another helper, I guess, as far as, or maybe a visual helper, as trying to figure out what's going on with your worksheet with the calculation. So we'll start out with the first one here. Let's say we click on to female reps down here. Okay, this formula. Now, this is just using a very simple sum function that's adding up the ranges of the female reps. So in other words, we've got column C for Kathy, we've got column E for Susan, and we've got the same for Linda. Now, it's been a long day, you're looking at this, you don't know really what you're looking at, all right? So what would be another great way of being able to kind of point this out, okay, graphically, right? So here's what you do. You go over to the Formulas tab, and we click on what is called Trace Precedents, or what's preceding it. So what precedes it? So what makes this happen, all right? So we go over here to Trace Precedents, click onto that, and there it goes. And it then shows us the ranges. So if it's ranges that are involved, then it kind of puts a little rectangular box around it there. If it's just a single cell, it'll just kind of have a reference around that cell along with it pointing to it. Now, on the other hand, if you click on, let's say, the male reps and click on the Trace Precedents, then you'll get that. The only problem with this feature is not very well color-coded, so you just have just blue, and after a while it just starts to look a little messy. So it's not the best thing, but just for some specific things here and there, it makes a big difference. If these were a little bit more spread out there, then it might look a little bit better. To clear out these arrows, all we have to do is we just click on to remove arrows, and they all go away. So if I go maybe to this guy right here, click on a Trace Precedents, I'll get that. See? If I go to this one over here, Trace Precedents, it'll show, oh, wrong one there. Trace Precedents, then I've got that there. So it's a pretty good little deal there. If I go to here, maybe, and I'll click on my Trace Precedents, I'll get that. All right, so pretty nice little tool there. Now, on the flip side of that, let's say that I've got, let's say, Lurch in March, and I want to know what formulas are directly tied to this cell. So when this cell changes, let's say it changes value, they'll update. I want to know which cells in here will update based on this. In other words, which formulas will update based on that changing directly. Okay, direct updates or direct references. So what we do here is we click onto there and we click on a Trace Dependents. In other words, what's dependent upon it. So I click onto that, and that happens. Now you look at this, you say, okay, good. If I change this, then obviously the total for March will change. If I change this here, obviously Lurch's total will change. And of course the male rep will change. And that's all happening because they're all directly referencing that. But you'll notice, you'll say to yourself, well, how come this here is not being pointed to? Well, if you click onto the cell, you're going to notice that in the referencing here, it doesn't reference Lurch directly. It references the total of Lurch's row. That's part of this here, but it's not a direct one. And you might say, well, that's kind of crazy. Well, no. Actually, what we can do, though, in that case, Let me put it back there again. What you can actually do is click on the trace dependents again, and that will then point to the indirect ones. And if you keep on doing it over and over again, I don't have much more to go here, so I'm going to get a little beep there. But if there are more, indirect on themselves, you see those just kind of follow through there. So pretty neat little tool there, or set of tools that we have here. So if you want to get rid of those arrows again, we can just turn that off. So hopefully this will help you. I think it's a great little referencing tool, just to get an idea of what you've got going and what's referencing what. And it just, I think, gives you a better picture than sometimes just looking at the formula directly. So hopefully you like the video. Take care.